episode of Culture Shock. I'm Brenda.
And I'm Zain, and in Culture Shock, we will have guests from all around the world who will come together. They have recently called Singapore their home. Recently or not so recently, but I think it's you're both from Singapore.
Correct. And today we have 5 very special friends here with us to share a bit about their experiences here in Singapore and their first impressions of what it's like when they came here.
Yep, but before we get into that, how about we get to know them first, where they're from. Maybe you can start, Arthur.
Yeah, sure. So my name is Arthur. I'm coming from South France, Nice, exactly. And I'm in Singapore since 7 months now, working in tech, majorly, yeah.
My name is Chris. I am from the south of England and I am a videographer here in Singapore.
How long have you been in Singapore, Chris?
I've been here almost 5 years in January, so, half local.
Okay.
I'm Nicole, and I've been in Singapore for almost 10 years, since Sec 3. I'm from Hong Kong.
Hi, my name is Victoria. I'm from Canada, and I've been in Singapore for about 6 years now, and I work in the legal field.
Hey, I'm Millie. I'm from the UK. I work in education and content creator as well. I've been here this will be my 3rd year with my husband, and we've got 2 kids.
Since you guys have moved into Singapore, be it whether it's 7 months or 6 years, right? What was a culture shock that you experienced when you first moved to Singapore?
The first time I saw it was chopping on a table.
Oh yeah.
And I'm kind of, I think I got mixed feelings about chopping in general. I think it's a great idea. I also think it's a really selfish idea as well. I've been doing it myself as well, but I tend to not do it anymore. If you reserve a table and you're in that queue, there's a good chance you're going to be waiting like 15-20 minutes, which is the exact length of time I need to sit down and eat a meal. I can't sit here, I can't sit there. Okay, well, I've got this food. What do I do with it? Am I going to stand up and eat the food? I don't know. On the one hand, I see it as like a really convenient thing and it's great, and people go to the extremes where it could just be like a bus pass or a ticket, or some people leave like their whole wardrobe on the table or whatever, and that's fine, that's cool. I think it was just something weird to me when I first saw it. I was like, why? Okay, there's loads of empty tables here, but there's also loads of like tissues on these tables. Like, what is this? So,
But chop is an English word.
Chop is Singlish, I feel, right?
Yeah, we chop. We don't like chop, right? So it's like you muck. So I think it started from like, I chopped the place with my item, and then it slowly became like.
Do you guys know what chop means?
Like,
This is something I experienced in my job that I also learned.
Chop.
It's to stamp something. But if you stamp a document, you don't say stamp in Singapore. It's like, where's the chop? Because the sound that the thing makes is like chuk chuk. That's the chop sound. I guess because I work with a lot of documents. So when I first moved to Singapore, someone said, "Did you chop it yet?" I was like, "What do you mean to chop it? Like, chop it in half?" And he was like, "No, you have to stamp it." And I was like, "Oh, it's a stamp." And then if I use stamp, they're like, "What's a stamp?" I'm like, "Oh, it's a chop."
What was the weirdest or like the most absurd thing that you have seen someone put their item to chop a place?
it's totally fine here to leave your most valued belongings on the table. I was sitting in a Starbucks and someone had their laptop open, and I swear I was in this Starbucks for quite a while, maybe about an hour, and then maybe 45 minutes, 50 minutes later, and I was getting ready to leave, and they come back and they'd been in the IKEA over the road in Alexandria. And I'm just like, who does that? Leaves their entire laptop, but
I'm guilty of doing that. We have Starbucks in schools and all, and I've left my laptop, my wallet, my iPad, my phone, everything there, and just head to the toilet for 10 minutes and come back.
I know I can, but it's every inner fibre of my being tells me that that's wrong. Where we grow up, it's different for everyone, obviously.
Yeah, we grew up like that in our country, to not letting stuff on table.
Would you leave something on a table? Man, it'd be gone in 10 minutes.
In Canada, we would never leave our items in the backseat of the car either. It's always in the boot or in the trunk. And I remember, I had my backpack and all my belongings and stuff, and I thought, maybe should we throw it in the trunk before we go in the mall? And my friend was like, no, it's really safe, it's fine. I'm like, I would never do that. People would probably break your window, or especially if you're in a car park, or maybe in this area that wasn't so safe. So that was interesting for me.
I just find it so safe for our kids. My son can take himself to school and he can walk home, but in the UK I wouldn't let him do that. So I was surprised at the safety and just like how helpful people are looking out for kids. Like you can always see when my kids go to get a drink, like people are checking they've got the right change. Like I wouldn't let my kids walk around in the UK with money because I'd be afraid that someone would take it from them.
Man, you had a wildly different childhood to mine.
I lived in quite rough areas in the
My
UK.
parents would just strap the money to me and be like, out you go.
I either lived in the country, so we had no neighbours, just like fields, or it was a bit of a dodgy area where you wouldn't, after dark, nobody goes out. Like,
From France to Singapore for 7 months, is there any cultural shock that you saw?
I mean, I've been in Asia before, so countries like Vietnam, China.
Yeah.
So it was more like culturally shocking for me. But Singapore is super easy to live. So for me, the most shocking thing was in a good way, the way the government are trying to organize the city with all of the cultural differences, like Malay, Chinese, Indians, and they're all living together, celebrating each beliefs. In France, it's completely nada. Like it's completely different. Yeah. In France, it's more like unsocial. We have many issues right now, and we are not like organizing the state or everything around people, cultures, and everything. So it's more like a Christian country first. So we're not basically celebrating like Chinese New Year, Jewish or Muslim and everything. We're just celebrating like Christian holidays.
Hong Kong, the house are like super small. Even though you all might not agree, because actually Singapore's house is not that big also. But when I first came to Singapore, I actually rented this HDB flat. I think it's a 4-room. My family was like, oh my god, it's so huge. How can you have such big space for just like one family? Then we just find it like it's super cheap. Because in Hong Kong it's like very, very expensive. It's only like 200 square feet, but then you need to pay for like 2k rental, and you'll never be able to buy a house there. Like for example, BTO kind of thing in Hong Kong or HDB, it takes like around 2 mil, like 1.3.
Wow.
Lowest 1.3.
But isn't it changing right now with the situation in Hong Kong and the price of rent that are crazy increasing in Singapore? I saw that
But
many
Hong
people
Kong
are
is
living.
still rising.
Yeah.
So Hong Kong is always ahead of Singapore.
I see.
So when we
Right.
come to Singapore, we look at Singapore's housing, we will still think that it's like so much cheaper.
Oh, that's interesting.
Interesting, because when you tell a Singaporean that housing
Yeah,
is
it's
cheap,
crazy.
We were like, what? No!
for like $1 million, you could get like just like a 3-bed condo. But in the UK, you could get like a 5-bedroom house with lawn, horses in the
Imagine.
back.
Horses?
$1 million in
Oh,
the UK would get
Imagine
you
if you had
a huge house.
£500,000 to spend
Yeah.
on a house.
It'd be crazy
Yeah.
in some places in
But
the UK.
Pretty.
at first when I came, it's like an open kitchen, then you can just walk around in the kitchen. In Hong Kong, I'm like squeezing in, I cook my noodle, I turn, then
Right.
it's already the wall. Yeah. The way of Singaporeans eating dim sum shocked me because they add chili into every single dim sum that they're eating. And the timing that they eat dim sum is also very
Yeah,
different.
so
you know,
dim
Hong
sum
Kong-
literally, like you're supposed to have it for brunch or
Yeah.
breakfast-ish.
Oh.
Yeah.
gotta overhear all of us eat for supper.
Yeah.
Supper, dinner, breakfast,
Oh,
all
yeah.
that.
Hawker,
I feel like
it's
Indians
just
are okay, sure.
anytime.
What was your first impressions of Singaporeans in general when you first arrived?
For me, it's like I feel Singaporeans are very casual and they don't really dress up a lot. I don't know because
Guilty.
Okay,
This is
let's,
the most dressed up you'll ever be.
because in Hong Kong we don't wear slippers out. Because since young, my mom is just like, wear shoe. Why are you wearing your slippers? You look so not decent. Please go and wear your shoe. Wear your socks. Yeah. So I was like brought up that way.
Right.
And when I come here, I see like everybody wearing slippers in like Orchard Road, and or Raffles also can wear slippers. But my mother will still scold me when I wear my slippers out. Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, but it's so interesting, you know why or not? Because, right, like my friends and I, we have this impression. Let's say, for example, if we see someone in Orchard wearing slippers, we would think, okay, this person is confirmed rich.
Yes!
Because
Yeah.
he's able to
Yeah.
dress down in Orchard, so his
Yeah.
house must be nearby.
They walk over.
Yeah.
Did you ever find like the aunties or uncles there rude? Because sometimes when they talk, right, they're just rushing. They're just
What
very
you want?
straightforward. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have?
Yeah.
He looks like he's thinking about something.
All the past trauma.
First one I did was low passa, so it wasn't really local. But in Geelong, definitely and every day. So now, I mean, I'm really okay, but it's quite rude at the first time. Yeah. Not look at your eyes when they're speaking. Why you want her? Yes. Take away. Okay. I was shocked about it first, but now it's okay.
It's so interesting because it's so true. And the thing is, right, when I was in France, right, for a work trip.
We are weird also, so.
No, it's like when I'm ordering in overseas, like say London or like Paris, right? They will make eye contact with me.
Yeah, it's really
And I'm like, oh my god, shit, they look at me. But in Singapore, it's like you want the eye contact, but they just don't.
I think as a Western thing, like looking at someone is like a sign of like, okay, you have my attention.
Communication, it's important thing of communication.
Yeah, I'm never quite sure whether they're talking to me. And like a few times someone else has gone in front, I'm like, but because I'm waiting to catch their eye to say like I'm here, I'm ready to order.
I'm so used to being brought up in the environment that when I go overseas and people start talking to me and looking at me in the eye, I feel like I'm looking into my soul. I'm not used to it. I'm really not used
I feel
to
paranoid.
it. Yeah. There's something on my face.
Right?
Yeah.
And then you don't know what to reply because you're so nice. You're like, oh, thanks for shopping. Now I'm like, oh yeah, you too.
Yeah. But in Singapore,
In
you're just
Singapore, we
like,
don't. We're just like, okay.
I find Singaporeans are pretty polite and nice because I'm comparing it to Hong Kong. Yeah, so Hong Kong is even more rushing and they are just very straightforward, very direct. There's no customer service. What you want? Okay,
Yeah,
I'll get it for you.
correct.
Done. You after you eat, go home. Don't sit here and
And
choke my feet. Yeah, don't talk already. Just leave.
Thing that I find rude is not on the seller's side of things. It's actually on the other side. It's really unusual. It's at least in the UK to like say, gimme one thing, give me one peach tea. I'm like, please, can I have? It's a request, not an order. Like, so yeah, that's a bit strange. when
I
hear
can
that.
see that as an efficiency way of talking as well.
For sure,
Like it's
efficient.
super, okay, no stories. Give
Yeah.
me this,
Yeah.
I want
Yeah.
this.
No small talk.
I'm hungry. Really? I can't do that. Oh, you do that? So like one coffee.
No, it's like the auntie like, yeah, what you want? Peach tea one. That's it. And then I pay, and then I'm like, okay, thank you, bye. Then I just go.
So now that you guys have shared your experiences living in Singapore, right? What if we talk about the flip side? If we were to move there to your home country, what are some advice you would give us?
Warm clothes.
Well,
Yes.
okay.
I love Singapore for the heat. I know in the UK I'm always cold. I've got like tights
same.
under my trousers and like
Okay.
vests, and I'm like all you can see from October is my eyes because I've got a scarf on, I've got a beanie on. I find the cold is just too much.
Don't you think it's
Yeah.
pretty funny that like, so Singapore is hot all year round, but the fashion stores are seasonal.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
So,
So you've got gloves in
yeah, so you go, the winter clothes are out now. It's like, great, cool, I'm gonna need these.
I would say be super careful with your wallets, guys, and bags, and because I mean, which is amazing in Singapore is that you're growing up in a super safe place, so you're not, I mean, how can I say, prepared maybe for the bad world around. I heard many stories like you guys coming with full cash in your bag, so you are the main targets in the city. I mean, it's the most thing I guess you have to pay attention to if you go.
If you were to move to Canada, depending on your lifestyle, people in Canada usually cook a lot more, which is very different from Singapore, which is, we've got hawkers and you've got bao, right? So I think if you were to move there long term, be prepared to do more grocery shopping and kind of like learn cook at home and have more family dinners and things like that. So it's a bit of a big culture difference. Yeah.
That was actually a culture shock for me, right? Whereas you find it's cheaper to actually go out and eat than like get the groceries at home. Yeah.
Cool.
More or less, Hong Kong and Singapore is very similar. But I will say, bring your McDonald's chili.
Really?
The chili is different. Yes. That's all my Singapore friends complaining about when they come back. How come there's no chili in Hong Kong McDonald's? That's why it's different.
Yeah, we don't have seaweed shaker fries in Canada, so you gotta bring those little
Friends
packets
too.
with you.
Yeah.
Alright, thank you guys so much for coming down today and sharing with us your experiences about living in Singapore. And that is all that we have for today's episode of Culture Shock.
If you like this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and watch our other videos over there. Bye.
Bye!